Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And, I roll through Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably see that I post these inspirational quotes, right? And so I roll through there every night. I look through the squirrel rescues, the dog rescues, the little pictures, illustrations that make me so happy. And then I read, all these inspirational quotes. It's like every other thing on my Instagram reel or feed now is an inspirational quote. And some of them I share online, but some of them I just screenshot for me, right? Because I need to hear these things. And I saw this one the other day, and it was so interesting because, for years, I will get comments on videos from people that don't like me, or like a huge criticism that's made of me, right? Is that people will say things like, he's so lazy, he just sits around all day long, blah, 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 whatever, right? And they'll say, he doesn't do anything, and he and his husband just go to brunch, or he just is at home with his dog and whatever like that. And so for a long time, I always kind of like felt compelled to defend myself and be like, I do a lot. Like, you guys don't see what I do, if I'm filming 4 to 7 videos a day on my channels, like on my vlog, I have vlogged every single day since April 1st. I haven't taken a day off. I'm vlogging close to an hour. It takes me another half an hour to put it all together, and then it takes 2 to 3 hours to upload it. So that's 4 hours alone for a vlog. I mean, I don't have to sit there the whole time in front of it, but for the time that I'm filming it, that's a lot more than a lot of people do that are online. And I'm not saying that I need pats on the back. It's easy to sit in a chair and talk, okay? I've never acted like it wasn't otherwise. But I've done that every single day, and that's for me because I enjoy that so much. But if I film like several videos a day, that's hours on end. On top of that, talking on the phone, doing recovery stuff, not just talking on the phone for fun, but talking on the phone, like, helping people and things like that. There's a lot of stuff I'm involved in that people don't know about because I don't talk about it on video, responding to emails, things like that, cleaning the house, doing laundry, things like that, having to go to the pool, hang out with my husband, my dog, things like that. Those are side things, right? But there's a lot that I do. And so for years, I felt like I needed to get on video and I needed to defend that because people be like, he's so lazy, he doesn't do anything, right? And I can remember there was a point, and it was like after the accident, like when I had come back on YouTube, and it was like 2 months after I'd come back on YouTube, and in my personal life, like I was really like struggling. I was like trying to post more and more videos because I was like, I think this is good for me. Like otherwise I'm just sitting on the front porch. I'm like in my head a lot. Like all this guilt and remorse is just going around my head. And so if I'm not in a therapy appointment, then I'm just thinking about it all the time, right? And so I was like, if I film videos or if I'm like doing this, I couldn't even read a book. If you guys go back and watch like on my vlog that year back after the accident, like I really struggled even listening to an audiobook. I think I finished reading like 12 books that year or something like that. And most of them, or 20 books, had come at the beginning of the year before the accident. And it was like 8 months. I'll never forget. It was a Simone St. James book. I just stopped reading it, and I was like, I think it was the Book of Cold Cases, and I just was like, I can't listen to an audiobook, I couldn't focus. And so if I wasn't filming videos, or if I wasn't doing something like cleaning the house or whatever, then I was just in my head, right? And I've had periods in my life that have been like that before, especially before I got sober. I just was like, just very down and just, self-sabotaging and in my head all the time and consumed with things that didn't matter and whatnot, And it just was really, really, I've had periods in my life like that, especially after breakups and stuff like that. After breakups, I'm such a person that's so like love-centered, and in the past, I've been so codependent. This relationship with Alex and us going to marriage counseling has really helped me get out of my codependency and really view it in a different way. But I really was somebody that for a very long period of my life, I think it was because, I think the way for me to understand it is that I was bullied so much for being gay when I wasn't even out, that then when I came out, if I had a man next to me that desired me or validated me, then it gave credence to all that I had gone through, and it made me feel all right. And having gone through marriage counseling, I'm sure there's a lot on here, when the therapist finally said, but like if you guys don't make it, you'll be all right. And it took me like 10 minutes to get through that, and I was like, yeah. And what I realized was I do not need somebody to validate me in my life today. It took me, we're talking, I was 46 or something at the time, 47, I don't know how, 45. took me 45 years of my life to realize I don't need validation from somebody else, right? Like, somebody else compliments my life, a partner, a friend, you know, a neighbor, you know, people compliment my life, but I can't have people validate my life. And that was really, really hard for me. And so whenever I went through a breakup, I was devastated, you know, before I got sober and after. But, you know, after I got sober, I had 2 long-term relationships before Alex that when we broke up, I mean, it was like months. Like, I just didn't even feel like I could function. I didn't even feel like I could get out of bed. I mean, I had to go to work. But if I didn't have to go to work, I probably would have just laid in bed all day long and just flipped through channels. I just was like in my head spinning. If I hadn't done this, if I hadn't said that, if he hadn't done this, if he hadn't said that, blah, 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 would we still be together and things like that. I've had these periods in my life where I literally couldn't do anything, you know? And having grown up with a mom that was very... I mean, today we have diagnoses for these things today, but when I was growing up, they did have diagnosis for those things, but she wasn't really, and I didn't really understand it, where there would be days on end where she really struggled to get out of bed. I mean, this wasn't the majority of the time, but this was a lot of the time. My mom self-medicated with alcohol a lot, and so there would be periods where she just wouldn't get out of bed at all, and then there would be days where she just was like the perfect mom, and everything was on, and then I didn't know what I was walking into. And it wasn't always because of drinking. A lot of it was because of her mental illness as well. And so I didn't know what I was coming into. And now what I look back on, you know, having done a lot of work on myself, is that at times my mom was doing the best that she could. And I'm not just talking about the drinking. I'm talking about dealing with her mental health, you know, and that my mom at times, maybe for her getting up and taking a shower and putting pajamas on a clean pair of pajamas and a robe on was the best that she could do for that day. I didn't understand that because I don't think we have language to talk about this. I think we still, even though we want to act like we don't, we still stigmatize mental illness. We still stigmatize people going through traumatic experiences. You know, we say to people, you're lazy, you're not doing this, blah, 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 you're not doing that, right? When those people are like doing a lot and they're doing enough. They're doing the best that they can do. And so, you know, but I have in the past, I don't so much anymore, even though I did it today in this video, but more just to really show you what I would do in the past. But in the past, I felt like this need to constantly, like, defend myself and show, like, on paper, like, not on paper, but, like, you know, I'd say, this is what I do. This is everything that I do, right? And so, because I constantly felt this need, like, oh, my God, you know, I think what it was doing was, it was, like, getting into my head, and then I was like, am I lazy? Like, you know, I'm somebody that constantly is, like, second-guessing myself. You know, it's not just laziness in my day. It's, am I being complacent? I like the word complacent over laziness. Am I being complacent over, in my relationship, in my marriage? Am I being complacent with taking care of my house? Am I being complacent in recovery? And what am I doing for my recovery today? What am I doing for my sobriety? You know, my sponsor always says to me, you're as sober as you want to be, meaning as much work as you put into it, as much work as you'll get out of it. Am I being complacent in therapy and the assignments he gives me and the work that I'm doing? You know, I'm only going to get out of therapy as much as I put into it. So, you know, I constantly am checking myself. I'm sometimes too much in my head, if you want to know the truth. I mean, it's one of the things I'm working on this year is to not be in my head so much, because I'm somebody that beats myself up so much in my own head. And I'm constantly, like, criticizing myself. And this is something I've really, really worked on the last couple of years, but I'm focusing on it more this year, especially in therapy, is not beating myself up so much in my head. Because what's the point? Like, what's it going to gain me, right, to beat myself up? So I saw this post. I've seen similar posts like this on Instagram before, but I saw it and I liked it. And it's from the Power of Positivity Instagram account, Power of Positivity. And it says, can't clean up the whole room, clean a corner of it. Can't do all the dishes, do a dish. Can't get in the shower, wash your face. Always look for the thing you can do with the energy and focus you do have. Little wins pave the way for bigger wins. 1% beats 0%. And I thought about this and I thought, all those years I beat myself up, I really wish I had heard this said exactly that way 30 years ago. I mean, it really would have saved me so much. You know, I can remember, you know, and this is really like how I am today. Like, if I'm like just energetically not filming like a video, I'm like, I can sit down and I can do a vlog, and that will at least feel like I was somewhat productive and I connected with people and things like that, right? And like, that's better than nothing, you know? I started making lists when I worked in treatment years and years and years ago, and I share this on other videos, but what I would do is, I had a big legal pad on the front of, like, you know, I had one of those big paper calendar things, you know, and then I had like this white legal pad on it, and every day before I left, I would go through the things I hadn't finished the day before, and then I would write them all down. I would put like what's today, the 28th? I put like Tuesday, July 29th, and then I would list all the things down, underline them of what I had to do, and then put a dash next to them, and then that I hadn't finished from the day before, and then I would add the things that I had to do for the next day that were new. And then the next day when I came in, I would go through my day, and as I did each thing, clinical meeting, I would like cross it off, right? With a highlighter. I had a yellow highlighter and a black Sharpie marker, or not marker, but pen the whole time. Like, I love those Sharpie pens. And that was what I used. And I would like cross it out with a highlighter. And so at the end of the day, it felt very, this is probably a little bit of my OCD. I've talked to my therapist about this, but it felt very productive for me when I could look at like everything that had been marked off. And then if there were 30 things on there and I finished, let's say 24 of them, then the 6 things would carry to the next day. Well, I still do that to this day, right? Like with videos, I make a list of all of my videos that I'm gonna make every day, all the things I want to do at the bottom of them. I list all those things, right? Of the things that I have to do. I keep a whole list of all the chores and duties that I want to do for the day. But one of the things that has happened over the years is that I used to really beat myself up if I would get to the end of the day and I'd be like, oh my God, you've only filmed 2 videos today. I would like start rushing. I would be like, you gotta make a video, I'd be like rushing making, and then Alex would be up here, and he doesn't mind being up here, but like now I try to get, other than my vlog, everything done before he comes home. Or he'll walk home when I'm filming, like finally finishing up a final video or something like that. Because I spent so much time of my life focused on, even before I was on YouTube, it was always that. It was always, working with this organization, working with that organization, running here, doing this, doing that. It's why today, as I've gotten older, I like to just sit and be present. But this is a good reminder for me on those days when I'm really, really struggling that I don't have to always operate at 100%, it's difficult when you have a job and you have kids and marriage and responsibilities, right? Like, I know there's probably people out there that are like, I'm not somebody that can just do 0%. Well, maybe that is your 1% for the day. Maybe getting your kids up and getting them ready for school and taking them to school and, maybe showing up for work or whatever, and even saying to maybe your supervisor, I'm just not on today. Like, I'm not doing great. I'm here and I'm going to do the best I can, but I'm not on. Sometimes it's not about the 1%. Maybe it's about trying to give 20 or 30%. But not beating yourself up if you're not at 100%, And for those people that don't live in that situation, that some days you just can't get out of bed. I literally have friends of mine that I have called, and they're like, this is like my 4th day. I just can't get out of bed. And I'm like, okay, well, what is something that we can do? Long before I ever read this, I'd say to them, what is something that you can do today? What can I help you with? I don't know. I feel like I can do anything. Well, can I come over, And so sometimes I'll go over there, or, Tanya and I will go over there, another friend and I will go over there, and we'll be like, what's going on, and it's a mess, right? Can we maybe like put all these clothes in like a laundry basket, and then maybe we can take them laundry and help you with it, but at least you can pick them up, right? That's their 1% for the day. It's just picking up their clothes and putting them in a laundry basket. That might not sound like a lot to a lot of people, but it's a lot more to some people than it is to others. Just getting in a shower and taking a shower is a lot for a lot of people. It took me years to really realize that, because I dogged myself for so long on those periods of my life when I really couldn't do anything, when I really couldn't, I couldn't function. I just didn't feel like I could do anything. I would go through the motions at work, and I would come home from work and I'd just be like, I didn't want to work out. I didn't want to clean the apartment. I didn't want to eat. I didn't even want to eat. I couldn't do anything, And the thing is, I know that there are people out there that, and like one of the things I like always encourage people, obviously, is to get professional help. That's the first thing I always say to people, friends of mine, like, have you contacted your therapist, or do you have professional help, or whatever, right? Because I think it's so important in those situations. But I think that we have to normalize doing the best that you can. This inspirational quote isn't saying stay stuck at 1%. What it's saying is, if today you don't feel like you can do anything, ask yourself what you can do today. What's 1 or 2 things that I can do? I can't do anything. I can't even get out of bed. Can you at least go in the closet and maybe change your pajamas? That's one thing that you didn't do yesterday. Yeah, I can do that. You can't take a shower. Can you wash your face? Like it says. Yeah, I can wash my face. I can brush my teeth. It takes a minute, right? It's going to make you feel a little bit better about yourself. It might help you that tomorrow you might be able to wash your face, brush your teeth, and maybe even get in a shower. The next day you might be able to wash your hair. And eventually you might be able to get back up there. It's about building it a little bit at a time, right? It's like baby steps. And not beating ourselves up for what we can't do. For some of us, that have to go to work and things like that, it's enough just to go to work or whatever, you know? And I think we don't really like talk, we make jokes about it. You know, we say things like the struggle is real, but we don't really talk about it when so many people are struggling with it. We really need to normalize it so that more people feel comfortable talking about it and getting help. So if you're struggling today, ask yourself, what's one thing I can do that I didn't do yesterday that I can do today? Oh my gosh, my battery died right before I was getting to the end of this video. But what I was saying was, you know, do the best that you can today for whatever that means for you. But I think most importantly it is not beating yourself up and also not getting stuck. I think why this inspirational quote is so important for me is because it's not saying just stay in bed as long as you want. You don't have to do anything. It's not saying, you know, you have to do everything or you don't do anything. It's like I've looked at the world through so many years through the eyes of, you know, completely this way or completely that way, when that's just really not how the world works. And like I said, I wish I had heard this so many years ago. What's the 1% of the thing that you can do today? What's the one thing that you can do today that will encourage you and inspire you to move forward tomorrow? Because if you can do 1% today, maybe you can do 2% tomorrow. Maybe the next day you can do 4%. Maybe we can get you up and moving, right? And I think if there were people in the past, and there have been, but at many times I felt completely alone. I didn't feel like I had anybody, right? And so I didn't have anybody coming to me and saying, what's the one thing that you can do today? I really didn't have many people that were saying that to me. At times I did, but many times I didn't. Had I in the past had people say to me, what's the one thing you feel like you can do today to move on and get through this? I think it really, really would have helped me because I think I could have at least acknowledged one thing. And I think for anybody out there, it's like there's just not one thing. I can't function, I can't move forward. I'm so filled with grief, you know, things like that. I think number one, the first question you have to ask yourself is this something that I can do myself? Because if it's not something you can do yourself, and even if, let's just say, if you even have to ask yourself that question, you probably need to seek professional help. If you are seeing a professional, okay, then, and you're in that position, it's probably you're at a point where you need to like move up the appointment and say like, I'm really struggling, like I need to come in sooner rather than later, or can I talk on the phone to you, or whatever, right? And it's always, and I always encourage this with people too, like if you're going to therapy and you don't feel like you're getting anything out of it, there is nothing wrong with asking for a referral or finding somebody that you better connect with. I will say that, because I think this is something we don't talk a lot about in our society, is people just getting really, really stuck and feeling like they can't move forward. What's the point? And one day after the other is the same thing, you know? I'm going through the motions of going to work, feeding my cat or dog, coming home and going to bed, and I feel like I'm not even functioning. I don't even feel like I'm alive. I've had long periods in my life like that, you know? I've known friends of mine that have had long periods of their life like that. I have friends of mine that for years and years and years, you know, went or misdiagnosed with mental illness that they didn't know how to deal with because they weren't working with professionals that were helping them deal with it, you know, whether medically or professionally or through talk therapy or whatever, because they didn't even know that they had anything really deeper going on than that. They just knew that they couldn't get out of bed, right? And that's pretty scary when you get to that point. And there's no age limit on that thing. That can be 15 or 50 or 55 or 95, right? Like it can be at any time. And I've also talked to other people that are like, I can't relate to this at all. This has never happened to me. Like I've never felt this way before, you know? Had somebody come to me at those periods and said, okay, we gotta get you going a little bit today. Like, and I think I would have at first been resistant to that and felt like, okay, you don't know what I'm going through. Well, I might not know what you're going through, but what is one thing you can do today? Can you go downstairs and eat a cup of soup? You know, can you wash your face and brush your teeth? Can you put on some clean pajamas? Can we do something? You know, can you maybe like open a window so you get some fresh air in here? Just anything, you know? And I think it's important. I think it really, really is important, you know? It's interesting, like, looking back on my mom's good days. My mom was somebody, and I've shared the story a lot. I don't really share so much about, I talk about her drinking and stuff, but I don't share so much about the mental illness because in all honesty, I didn't really understand it. And so it was very just confusing times for me. But I do remember my mom on good days would get up, and she was always a late sleeper, but like she would get up, and when I was younger, and she had like the steamrollers, and she put the steamrollers in. She was never a big makeup wearer or anything like that, but she would get ready for the day, and I would say to my mom, like, what are we doing? And she would say, well, we're getting ready for the day in case something comes up and we want to go do something, then we're ready for the day. I don't know why I remember my mom saying that. Like, I can remember her saying it to me on several different occasions. I can, like, as I'm telling you the story, I can see her in her bathroom with, like, the steamrollers. She would put the water, you know, in the bottom of the steamrollers, and she had the little metal clips that she would hang from her hair and stuff like that. I can remember, like, sitting there, and she'd be like, and that would be on a good day, right? Like, that wasn't, like, a day where she was struggling. That was on a good day that she would say that. And I can remember that something like I've tried to carry with me throughout my life is like, get up, get ready for the day in case you want to do something or whatever you want to do for the day, right? And if that's the only thing that I do for that day is get ready in case I want to do something, then that's enough for me some days, you know? I think because I had so many of those days, I now struggle when there are days that I could do so much that I don't do anything at all, you know, and I really, really struggle with that. And so I try to do as much as I possibly can. And that's the other thing I struggle with, is trying to pack it all in. And now it's kind of about finding a happy medium, you know. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. I'm going to read it again to you guys just in case you want to hear it. Can't clean up the whole room, clean a corner of it. This is good for me too, as far as like cleaning and organizing, because this is really what got me to the point where like the basement is almost clean. It was like, okay, I kept on looking at it. I was like, it's so overwhelming. I was like, okay, just this box, just this area. And then that area turned into a bigger area, turned into a bit, you know what I mean? So that was really helpful too. Can't clean up the whole room, clean a corner of it. Can't do all the dishes, do a dish. Can't get in the shower, wash your face. Always look for the thing you can do with the energy and focus you do have. Little wins pave the way for bigger wins. 1% beats 0%. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.